Hi, this is
Hello.
Sharon Scott Wilson. I'm publisher of Trades, the Trades Publishing Company, and we are here today with Jeff White, our associate who is helping produce the program, and Joe Hubbard. Joe Hubbard is golf course superintendent for Boca Delray Golf and Country Club for maintenance design, aesthetics, and playability, which is a tall order. So really, we just kind of plan to have a chat session. And I'd like to open it by asking Joe, how did you get into being a superintendent in the first place?
Well, it probably all had to do with my father. First time I saw a golf club, he was swinging in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. I walked around the corner and he hit me right between the eyes and knocked me out.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I've never been right since. So, I think he just said, "Boy, you need to go into golf maintenance because you're not right." But I started picking up golf, just following my dad and pulling his cart and everything like this, and noticing these guys out maintaining the golf course. And it came to a point that I was doing all sorts of sports and wrestling, cross country and gymnastics, and everything. And for me to play golf, I was going to have to get a job at the golf course because we didn't have money, to get a membership or anything like that. And so I got a job, a summertime job at Plantation Golf Course. Well, first one was Mountain Home Air Force Base when my dad was manager on the base. And I picked the range, and then I worked on the golf course for a superintendent named Dewey Kibler, who was there like 40, 50 years, something like that. I told him he went from the biplane to the jet, in the time he was a superintendent on the base there.
So anyway, I think we have some slides. You sent us a whole bunch of photos. And so we have a whole bunch of slides we're going to run through.
Okay. My time with the PGA Champions Tour with Dan Forsman there and everything, became a real good friend. We talked to each other a few times through the year now. But anyway, so that's how I got into golf maintenance, working summers. And then I had a choice to make after I won state championships and all that and was setting records. Is I got 26 golf scholarships and 10 academic scholarships around the country at the top golf schools in the nation. And I said, well, do I want to stay? The superintendent wanted me to stay there, not go to college, and become the superintendent. He'd been there 45 years. So I said, no, I got to try this. I got to go get my hand at golf. And so I went out and did the college thing for a couple of years and wasn't real impressed with it. You still got to have some money when you get to college to survive, basically. And I didn't have a car to get to the golf course in Florida State University, so ended up leaving there and going to Boise State University for a year, and then decided to go try for the tour in '77. And I gave it the run on the golf professionally, and then I ended up coming back to golf maintenance in 1983. Was my first superintendent's job.
So I got a question for you. As a superintendent, how often do you actually get to play?
Well, I could probably play once or twice a week now. I haven't played in 2 years. I got injured out here on the job, and both shoulders were wrecked, and 5 vertebrae were ruptured, and that, and so I. And there's nobody to play with, really, here. These average age is 81. I just want to play for fun. Everybody thinks I want to go out, well, this is the guy who used to play all this, and no, I'll just go out and have fun. And I think I'm going to come out of retirement after 2 years and play with a young 70-year-old that plays out here, little bitty short Canadian guy that shoots 3 or 4 under par every time he plays. And just a real good guy, too. A lot of fun. He walks every day and like that. So.
Well, I hope he gives you a run for the money.
I think he will. As rusty as I am right now, I did hit a ball with him, 1 ball yesterday, my only swing of the day, and almost hold it out from 130 yards out. And
well, that's the thing. When I know myself, when you're under pressure, you focus more. So we are scrolling through your photos as we speak, and they're just gorgeous. So when did you, is photography, you sell your photos at all, or is it just a pastime?
Well, in high school, I was named Journalist of the Year in Idaho schools for my stories, and then I started dabbling at taking pictures with, old cameras, and I went to junior college after Boise State, and I got a degree in journalism. And in that time, I was named editor of the college newspaper, and I did all the photography for it also. And I went to learning from a photographer on darkroom antics and different things like that. And writing for a newspaper in between playing pro and like that, I worked with a guy named Jimmy Lott and a guy named John Brunk. One was a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer. And so I was learning tricks from him and learning in the dark room. Of course, we would be half inebriated when we were doing these things, but we had a good time. And Jimmy Lauder ran for Oregon. He ran like a 10-300 back then, little bitty guy. And so we played football together and all that stuff, and real good memories back then.
Now, how come you didn't become a professional comedian? Because you're so funny.
Well, that's the same question my wife asked her on a honeymoon. I don't know why she asked that, but it's, it's always just, when you watch Red Skelton, Abbott Costello when you're growing up, and the clean comedians. And when I got to Florida State University, my roommate, he was the head black militant leader at Florida State University, is who they assigned me to. And so we got along great. I mean, he was a really good guy, and he taught me a lot about different things that were going on in the country and all that stuff. Because when you come from Idaho, you kind of enclosed up there in the mountains and everything, and so. But he put on Richard Pryor on a record, and I couldn't stop crying. I was laughing so hard. I just never heard anything like it. And he was hilarious. And so I just start, the quick comebacks and the quick one-liners, and it's kind of a Robin Williams, rat-a-tat-tat, off that, Jonathan Winters, and like that. So and the thing is, you got to know your audience too, because sometimes you're pitching and nobody's hitting. So, I kind of limit my humor and don't talk to a lot of Northeasterners because they don't have a sense of humor.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. We're in Tennessee. You're in Florida, of course, so we can rightfully say we're Southern.
You're God's country there, honey.
We saw a lot of photos of Arnold Palmer and other celebrities, so I know maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience with the great one, Arnold.
Yeah. That's the thing about Arnie. He didn't see himself as the great one, or the king. He didn't like to be called the king. That's what he told me when we were talking, and I think he's told that and a few other people. And I think kind of after he retired and got done playing and traveling so much, and I think he just kind of accepted it. But if it wasn't for him, what he did for the professional golf tour, started the Golf Channel, and bought Pebble Beach at one time with a group and everything like that. These kids would probably be selling pencils out there in the street corner to make ends meet to go out and play, because they're not all geniuses and they're not all great golfers. You have a lot better golfers overall now in a long range of thing because they're trained so well in college. Now, Arnie, watching him is mainly, I noticed in the 5 years I worked with him there and then became friends and talked to him now and then, is how his people acted around him and how he treated his people. And he had specific guidelines and qualities and everything that, his people knew to stand those standards and everything like that. And if you said something, you had to do it. You know, your word is your bond. And to watch him interact with people, he always, when somebody came in front of him, he made sure he looked them in the face and looked them in the eyes, took their hands. If it was a lady, you know, he likes ladies, and but took your hand, and he'd look you in the eye, and he'd listen to you as if you're the most important person in the world right there in front of him. And that ingrained him to other people all the time.
Yeah.
You want to feel special. You're meeting your idol, you know, and like that. And so but I watched the loyalty of his employees to him. There's no bad mouthing. There's no snipping. You know, there may have been things behind the scenes that we didn't see. You know, but even when I was behind the scenes, and you know, in the real personable areas, you know, that had no publicity, no outsiders. It wasn't like that. It was like a family. You know? And it was heartbreaking when he had to really let, you know, the company go and kind of break up and everything like that. Just kept a little bit of it going for the design and everything. And you know, I remember him when they, you know, took his license from flying, or basically wouldn't let him fly because of his age and everything. And Pete was his main pilot for him when he come in and see me and check our golf courses out with Toll. And I mean, that was crushing to him to lose that ability to fly, because he felt free. He didn't feel old and the age wearing him down, you know, because you have that freedom up there. And he was like a kid. You know, he kind of strafed us one time on the plane and just went buzzing by in his jet and scared the hell out of me.
Oh, I bet he was a wonderful person to know. It's not in this edition of Golf Course Trades. I think it's in the prior one. Maybe Jeff, you could ask Carrie to look for it. We had an article about Arnold Palmer's father,
Deke. Yeah.
Deke. Yeah.
So
that
I did read the article. It was very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
If I get her again, I will. Deke sounded like a tough but stand-up person. And just a man of his time, I think.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a tough tale where Arnold I think was making a joke where he said he was going to buy the course where his father worked. He said, "Why would you want this course?" And Arnold was joking, just saying, "So you'd have to work for me." That did not fly well with Deke, with his father.
Yeah.
Did not fly well. And I think he had won a particular tournament, and he said, you know, on the way home, nothing was said. I think maybe he commented on one particular hole, but there was not a congratulations. It was definitely, you know, it was that time when men didn't say "I love you" to their children, like they do nowadays.
He was kind of the great generation, I guess.
The greatest,
greatest generation.
But it was a wonderful.
Right.
The quiet generation.
There you go.
So.
Self-effacing, really. I did want to ask Joe also because I don't want us to run out of time before we get to the question about what your biggest challenge is, besides Northeasterners, of course.
Well, you know, without them, we wouldn't have a Florida, you know, basically. So I can't. They built up Florida, but the greatest challenge is, and I thought about this because we talked about this before a while back, and I think it's the moving. We moved so much because at the time, you know, that you'd have different boards come in, or you have different people take over the course, and they just want to make a change, even though you're doing a great job, and excellent job even. And well, see ya, you know. And it's tough. You want to set down roots. I come up as an Air Force brat, and all you ever want to do is find a place, find a home for a while, unpack your bags and boxes. And I didn't do that for 20 years, you know. It's just everything's still. Right. And when I pulled things out, you know, I'm looking, wow, where'd that come from, you know? And that was a huge challenge. It was very tough on my family and my kids growing up. because I'd leave for 6 months ahead of time, go take the job, while my wife would wrap up everything back there in school and all that stuff, and then come down. She even had to go back for a year for my daughter to finish high school up in Virginia, because it wasn't fair to bring her down within a year of graduating. And we had so many kids we helped raise up there in Northern Virginia. It was like a family of 50 kids. I mean, I was stepping over bodies every time I go try and get down, to go to work and everything like that. And I love every one of those kids. They're great. And to see my kids today, they all go to their each other's weddings, and attend the baby shower. In fact, my daughter is due in a couple of weeks up there in West Virginia. She's a teacher up there.
Congratulations.
And it's just the interaction. Her wedding was phenomenal. The love, from everybody. Oh,
that's great. And how many grandkids do you have?
This will be my fourth. And her name's going to be Joey May. Joey May
how
Lucas.
Sweet. Oh, how touching. They named her after you.
Well, the first child's named Palmer. And who's that named after?
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I like that.
And I built a golf course just south of Pittsburgh after I'd left Toll Brothers, and I built a golf course just south of there and got Arnie to come on board to help design that for these developers. They had no idea they could get somebody like him. Well, it's 30 miles from Latrobe, Arnie, he just drive over there in his spare time, and take care of it and everything. So that's Blackthorn Country Club. And so I got Palmer, Palmer Brady? No, Palmer Lee or Palmer Brady. I can't remember his middle name. I call him Little Dude. He calls me Tater Pop. So I'm known as Tater Pop to the grandkids.
Oh.
And then I got a granddaughter in Jupiter named Lily, to my oldest son, and then he's got a son also named Wyatt, and two great kids. All great. Grandkids. Palmer's already, he's doing everything sports. So he's 2.5 years old. I'm going up for the birth of my granddaughter, and when I'm up there, I will sneak him away and take him for his first fishing expedition. 2.5.
Boy, it'd be a big adventure with Tater Pop.
Oh yeah, well they may have to be calling us home because it's turning dark and. I'm noted for not leaving the water.
Oh boy! So on the course, your course of duty, what kind of makes you lose sleep at night, if you will? Do you ever have problems that kind of are rough to tackle? What's your biggest headache?
Well, before it would be golf course issues. It'd be politics. Later on in my career, it'd be politics of golf courses, that things you can't control, and it just baffles you to see human beings treat each other that way. It's sad, It's because you could get things done so much better if everybody just shut their mouth and listen a little bit, and then go ahead and get the business done that you're supposed to. Right now, maybe family issues. I drove into my house last week, the duplex my wife and I rent, and the realtor put our place up for sale. No notification or anything. And so, and for what we're paying and what is available now, it's almost double and triple the rent. The cost of the houses have doubled and tripled in the last couple of years. Just the last couple of years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna have to live out of state and fly in, and go to work every day. So.
Oh, I'm so sad to hear that. I'm sorry, but life is never smooth.
Meet a rich widow woman, I could probably pick up some bucks.
What's your favorite feature about work? What are you working on at the moment, and what's your favorite?
Really, beautification of the golf course. Because what I'd like to do is rebuild the greens. They're 40-year-old push-up greens here. They were just awful the first couple of years, just trying to get those things to be alive and full and not be totally covered in weeds when I inherited them. And now they're actually in pretty good shape, just a couple little edges. But I know any golf course superintendent, it's what's under the ground that dictates how the quality of the grass is going to be on top. And so we've been trying to change that out a little bit. And I said, well, until you decide what you want to do as a board, as a community, I'll try and make it the best I can. No promises, because you can get extended rain and cold on old push-up greens like this, and it could flip in an instant. And we went through 137 inches of rain last year, 70 inches above normal. A lot of cloud cover. Got it through alive, and not using a lot of fungicide. They used to put tons of fungicide on these greens before I got here, and I very rarely have to spray them now. So.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I know you're a big bird enthusiast and naturalist. I can just imagine the lives you're saving.
Well, I do. It's sad in a way what we're going through right now. We've had probably 150 babies born to Muscovy ducks, Florida black ducks, Egyptian. Still waiting on the swans. I think they have to abandon the 9 eggs she set on there for 90 days now. I think they're scrambled eggs now. I don't think they're babies. You know, and it's sad. But like we had one Muscovy a week ago. I had 17 babies. And they're the cutest thing in the world. And I just posted some pictures today of those things, close-ups and everything from a couple of days ago. Come in on Monday, and there's only one left.
Oh, maybe the owls or some other birds have got them.
Wood storks, herons, sharp-shinned hawks, turtles eat a lot of them, pull them down under when the sun across. Otters. Yeah. Otters will devastate a whole family. They got the 4 of the 5 swans last year, the otters did. You know, they're real cute and everything, what they show you on TV, but you know you can't believe everything on TV.
Or the internet.
Yeah, I'm not really here.
Yeah.
So, I love creating. I put in 4 butterfly gardens now since I've gotten here. And it's funny, the one I put in 2 years ago, a girl happened to be visiting her grandmother and saw it. And it was a pretty big butterfly garden. And all the wildflowers are coming up. And it was beautiful. And she came over and asked me about it. Next thing you know, she comes, does the environmental thing for the main news source here. They came and did a story and filmed it. It got all over the world and got posted everywhere. And I was getting phone calls and notes and emails. We really are a small community when you're in the golf industry, and we're pretty tight knit. You know, we bank off things off each other, but anytime somebody succeeds, we're there to congratulate them. And if somebody has a failure for some reason, not of their own sometimes, you know, we're there for them also with equipment, help, donations, or whatever. And, you know, you take care of your own. You know?
Well, I'm sure a lot of your fellow superintendents can relate to even your observations about the challenges of politics. That must be really rough. I wanted to know too, is your course strictly private, or is it open to the public as well?
Well, it was private, but they decided to survive because we lost so many members due to, you know, they're getting it kind of old and they pass away, and the ones who are coming in and buying aren't golfers, and you know they love green space and they love nature. They just you know, golfers, you know, and they don't want to pay for the golf course, but it's a part of the community. It's part of their the value of their home sites and everything like this. So they got to realize that you're getting the value from this green space and being manicured and everything. But so now they've opened it up to like Canadian Amateur, the Can-Am group they call it, and Golf Now, and you know those various, you know, COVID. We were setting records here right when COVID hit, and then we basically didn't have any play for a few months at all. And then when they opened it back up just for the members, not outside, very limited play. Now they've opened it up in about a month and a half, 2 months ago. They opened it back up, and we're getting play in, and people enjoy this course. Lynn University used to play here for a few years before both the men and women's team won the National Junior College Championship. And this
I was going to
first.
ask you if there were any schools, if there were any competitive teams that played there on a regular basis or practiced there on a regular basis.
Yeah, it was just.
But
It
you
was
answered
just
the question.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, well, once they won the national championship, they got invited to the bigger courses, Yeah,
One of our attendees, Carrie Criswell, she had several questions. One, how do you keep employees? Do you struggle with getting them? Do you use natural products for your turf grass? And also, most supers have a dog. Do you? These are great questions.
I have 2 dogs, and I'm not allowed to bring it in. And both my dogs are 60 pounds. One's a rescue beagle, 100% beagle. And the other one's a Bassador, and they are the love of my life. I rescued them 2 years ago, and when I come home, my wife opens the door and they run. The beagle would run off, but Bassador, she runs to me, wagging her tail, comes out, rolls on her back right there, and I rub her and everything like that. And the feeling that you're being welcomed home like that is great. I told my wife, 38 years of being together, you never rolled over on your back out there in the
The minute you walk in.
Yeah, exactly.
I get the same comment from Tim, actually.
I could get down, I just couldn't get up.
How do I keep employees? I've always treated my employees. My dad taught me this when he was general manager of courses, and I watched his employees would quit when he quit and try and follow him. They wanted to work for him. Didn't matter the pay, wasn't anything like that. Even if he was moving out of state, they wanted to move with him. And that kind of loyalty, just like Arnold Palmer talked about the loyalty also, you treat your employees the way you want to be treated. And even better, because I don't treat myself real good, And so, I use my sense of humor with the guys and everything like that. I can't physically get in there and ball around with them and dig like I used to. When I was at Jonathan's Landing, I always had a wrestling challenge. One employee got to challenge me in a wrestling match, and it's pretty safe bet because they're Guatemalans. They're like 5 foot tall, but they're strong as a bull, and they're pretty fast. But I had that camaraderie with them, and I always would try and do meals for them, and I always fought for benefits at every club I've been at to get from my employees.
So have you had to struggle at all with getting employees here in Boca Raton?
Yeah, recently I have. It didn't used to be that way, but in the last couple of years, it would take me 5-6 months to just get a regular employee, just a regular worker. In fact, I just hired one out of Clear Boo after losing somebody back in December, and I got this guy that came out and talked to me, and he was almost like a gentleman Haitian. I mean, this guy was tall, good-looking guy, very well-spoken, and he had like 15 to 18 years of experience on him, and just asking questions. He's very respectful, could communicate real well. And I said, well, let's give you a try, and I needed a body anyways. I mean, he was breathing. He had me at hello, so, but he has just been phenomenal the last 2.5, 3 weeks, working hard, doesn't have to be babysit, takes on extra stuff that he's doing, and I have my crew is Haitian, and I have a guy named Wilford that's kind of like my right-hand man here, and he needed a little help, he needs somebody there to give him a little support, and boy, we've been getting a lot of stuff done in 2.5, 3 weeks with him on board.
Wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
I guess Carrie also asked about the natural products for your turf grass.
No, because of the nature of what I had to do, it's very old grass, covered in weeds, needed pre-emergence. You really need to put a lot of pre-emergence down here to get the weeds. But first you got to get that stand of healthy grass. Then you can back off the products. When I was at Broken Sound, we went full gamut the first couple of years with a lot of products. Oh, but it was all, all legal. No, it's all legal. And, but, and same thing here, getting us from 80 to 85% weed coverage down to about, 4% weed coverage, just like Broken Sound was just not a very good quality golf course when I got there. Jonathan's Landing was just a rat trap when I took it. And then when you get healthy, then you start backing off. You start going to natural products. I did a lot of compost mixtures there on the greens at Broken Sound. I made my own compost, made my own mulch there. Instead of, we were saving $100,000 a year in hauling fees for debris and food waste and everything. We converted it all, made it, put it on the golf course. Instead of buying 3,300 bales of pine straw at Broken Sound a year, I cut that out, made our own different layers of mulch, different sizes, and really layered the golf course in different grasses. So I didn't have to, and did away with 66,000 annual flowers a year, down to only about 4,000 annual flowers a year. Just a little bang for the buck here and there by putting these grasses in. But, when you have white fountain grasses, that white plume, then the pink muley grass would come on in the fall and just be stunning in very little labor to do it. You don't have to fertilize them. You don't have to do anything like that. So,
I guess your labor is all up front with your researching how to put together the compost piles and make the right mix of everything. So,
yeah.
And the initial work.
Oh, yeah. And I was fortunate at Broken Sound. I had a Haitian fellow there named Dimitri Etienne. They call him Dynamite, R-E-T. And he became like a brother to me. I mean, we were like family. And, we put our heads together and say, see the resemblance, But I've never seen anybody so passionate and loving his job so much. And I ended up making him one of the first Haitian superintendents, especially at an executive private club like that. Not executive private, a high-end emerald, quality golf course. And, hosting the PGA Tour event, national qualifiers. And I could entrust him with my life, that man right there. And I miss him a lot. I'd like to get him over here, but he makes more than I do over there.
That's tough to compete with, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But eventually I'll be knocking back things as the golf course gets better in quality. One day they may come out and let me regrass this golf course and everything. Yeah. When you do that, it's very simple. Then you can start off on the biologicals and the natural products, more work on the soil type, and not have to deal with the weeds as much. You still got to do your pre-emergence down here in Florida. Anybody says they don't do that is got a bad golf course under the line, and
or both.
Or both. And some are fortunate to have the hand labor too. That any that pop up, you go out and hand pick. I bought 5 or 6 pickers out here, and I'll go out and I'll pick a lot of weeds too. And we pick up the bigger 3-tiller weeds like goose grasses, and I hate goose grass with a passion. Just let me say that right out front. It's just, God made mistakes in 2 things. The only thing is making armadillo and making goose grass. At the golf course I was at in Oklahoma before I came east is Lake Tech Summer Resort. I didn't have any experience, but I ended up building 9 holes out there and then converting the other 9 from Bermuda grass to bent just by reading a book from Frank Beard's book. Turf management is the Bible for all of us people back then for turf management. And the professor from Oklahoma State University, Wayne Huffine, who was just a character and a half, but he taught me a lot when I was out there learning the ropes. And so I went out there and just create and build these greens and put the irrigation in and OJT. And 2 years later, after we had opened up, we were named the best greens in Oklahoma, beat out Southern Hills and the course way up in the northeast there, and the one over in Ardmore, where I ended up going and being right across the street from before Dornick Hills, that Perry Maxwell built. And we had gigantic. I built these big greens. I didn't know how big they were supposed to be. I mean, I built big ones. Yeah. So, and if anybody was late, I'd make them go walk mow a few of them because we tri-plex. We only had 4 employees for 250 acres. And it's funny, when I went back to Oklahoma, I had 4 employees for 250 acres, and getting my start was at a 9-hole course, and I was the only employee for the whole first year.
Wow.
Maintain the course, and we played some of the biggest amateurs in the United States and southern United States in that little golf.
And probably you used a walk mower.
Yeah. Well, I had to go to a walk mower when our triplex broke, because what I had to do is I'd mow the greens and I'd change the reels out to tee reels, and then I'd go mow the tees, and then change it back to the greens mower reels for the next day. And it broke down right before this huge tournament we were having, so I went and borrowed a walk mower, and then I remember I had a walk mower from the Air Force Base. I had a Han walk mower. Let any of your viewers try and figure that one out from back in the 60s. But and I walk mow the greens, and then I had to tee off against some of the best collegiate players in the United States and go compete against them. And it kind of baffled them with me with having duct tape on my shoes and have big bandages in my hand from all the blisters and all that, and then playing in national championships and like that. And they go, boy, how'd you get out here on the golf course? So I qualified.
Gee, how else do you do?
Yeah, but it made it real good to hustle people when you had duct tape and masking tape on your shoes holding them together. You could hustle a buck, and guys feel sorry for you and give you a couple strokes or something like that, and you play real dumb, a hoe bumpkin, and then you get the money going, and the next thing you know, they're down $1,000 to you.
Yeah. Well, too bad.
Don't never read a book, as they say. But I got hustled myself by an old guy from Boise State University, the dean, Doc Spolnick, hustled me, and I learned a lesson from that. So he taught me a good lesson too.
Well, Joe, we've run over our time by about 10 minutes, but I sure want to thank you and invite you back in the future for more stories and humor. I did want to say also, Carrie did manage to find the article in the January issue. It's called "How Deke Influenced His Son Arnold Palmer to Change Golf."
Yeah.
So,
but don't let everybody be fooled by that. He was a mama's boy. Arnie was a mama's boy. He taught his mother. He'd get a little tear in his eye. He loved his mother, and his mother taught him a lot of big lessons.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, thank you so much, and thank you, Jeff, and I hope that everybody will have a great weekend coming up soon. Hope that your weather stays not too hot.
No, it can get to 98. We're still comfortable down here.
Okay.